Hey, checking in with Spnnng Slvr by Naomi Novik, 2018 fantasy novel, I believe. Well, I know it's 2018. It is a fantasy novel set in a kind of medieval um, Russia, Poland, with three women. The main one being Miriam, who has been, as a moneylender in her thing, kind of started bragging that she could spin gold into silver, and was apparently overheard by the fairy folk. The historic king has set her a three task thing of um, increasing amounts of Stark silver that she needs to turn into gold. That Stark silver gets turned into a ring, into a necklace, and into a crown, and given and sold to a duke, who gives it to his daughter, who is the second female protagonist in the book, Ilyana. That attracts the attention of what seems like a psychopathic czar does gets who comes to visit, and his father is hoping to use it to ensnare. And the third woman is Wanda, a kind of a peasant Christian, I'm assuming peasant, of the same town as Miriam, who gets hired by Miriam, who sort of entrusts her with taking care of her family, because the Stark Lord has said, like, well, you've succeeded in the three tasks, so now I have to take you as my queen. I'm not happy about it, and I'm going to take you away. And and Miriam's like, fuck, I don't think I'm coming back from this. He's most likely going to just kill me, because spinning silver. It's like it's a saying, not an actual thing I'm doing, but he believes it is, and that I've done the task three times. Thus I've called it into being. So Wanda is left in the village to take care of. Unfortunately, her father decides, brilliant asshole, drunkard, super violent, abusive bastard that he is, that he is going to basically sell Wanda off in exchange for a bottle of wine each month, each week. I think it is each week. And Wanda says no, and he starts beating her. And her little brother, grabs hold of the end of the poker and says, "No, don't." And he whaps him with a fucking solid chair, and is whacking him with with like a leg, and then picks up the poker, that's when basically we know it's going to be death for everybody who gets whacked by the poker. And she's like, "No, I'm not gonna. Don't. I'll marry him. I'll marry him." At which point, the larger brother comes in, grabs the poker, whacks him with it. He falls back into the fire. The pot of boiling whatever crashes on him. His head's on fire, and he is dead. And I mean, while that is a great thing, it also means that they've murdered him. And you don't murder them. You don't murder fathers, even if they are abusive assholes who are trying to kill you. There's no such thing as self-defense in that thing. And since the guy who was buying Wanda for her daughter saw this, they have to take off. And so they leave the younger son with Miriam's parents, because they know they'll take care of him, and they're basically going on the lam. Meanwhile, yes, Miriam has been taken away by the Stark Lord, and Iriana has been married off very quick, short order, to the Tsar, who kind of comes upon her like, "You're not pretty," but she kind of refuses him, and he's like, "Oh," and there's something in him like really demonic. And he doesn't seem to even notice the silver at all. And so he marries her in quite short order. and he doesn't seem interested in the Spnnng Slvr jewelry at all. Takes him back to his big old Tsar castle, and is in the room, and she's like, oh, crap. And she goes over to the mirror wearing her Spnnng Slvr, and like she's locked in this room, the wedding room, and she goes through the mirror, and suddenly she's in a kind of a snowy scape, super, super cold, and she's like on top of a frozen solid river, and she looks back through, and it's the room, the Tsar's wedding room, and the Tsar comes in, and he's like, where are you? And it's like he is super demonic, and he searches and searches, and he loses his smile, and he goes crazy, and he rips apart the room, and he has what almost looks like an epileptic fit. Falls on the floor foaming, eyes glassy, and then suddenly comes to, and is slightly confused, normal, goes over to the fire, which suddenly kind of kindles, and out of the fire comes his scary demonic voice going, where is she? I must have her, kind of, kill them all, kill his family to get a thing. And fortunately, they'd settle on, oh, we'll send for her maid, which he wouldn't let her take with her, and make her tell them where she is. And she's like, fuck. And they finally leave, and she's like, okay, well, he leaves, and the fire dies down. And she's like, shit, is it still there in that fire? And she finally does get herself back through, and yeah, he seems to be gone, and whatever that thing was in the fire is gone. But it's like, holy shit, it is like, there was the whole thing about his mother being a witch. You have to wonder if it's his mother inhabiting his body, or something like that, or maybe something that inhabited his mother before him was in there, like she says, Baba Yaga, kind of that kind of super scary thing. And so yes, they and she finds out that she basically needs to wear two silver things, either a ring in the necklace, or the necklace and the crown, or the crown and the ring, or something like that. It has to be two to be able to get through the mirror, elsewise it doesn't work. And she's like, fuck, I'm not going to be able to kind of like have two of them on at all times to be able to get through and get away, because he'll figure it out. So she is really fucked. So that's two people really fucked. The third is Miriam, who has been taken to this this like Fey folk, Starking Lord's castle, which is in this just giant wet, kind of cold Arctic waste. Everything's covered in snow. She can't see her village Visnu from here. And all of his retainers and stuff like that are looking around, smiling coldly, because it's like, oh, the king's been brought down. And he says, this, behold your new king. And it's like, he doesn't really give a fuck. He's pissed off that he has to do this as well, queen as well. And he's like, okay, here's the crown. And he's gonna plop it on her head, but she goes, no, I'm not. Like, if I let them smile at me like that, which her villagers were doing for the longest time, they'll smile at me like that forever. So before he can plop it down, she reaches up and takes it in his hand as well, and holds it and squeezes it. And as she does, she turns the silver crown into gold, and suddenly they lose their smiles, because holy shit, she does have the power of spinning silver into gold, literally, at least in this very fey world. Puts it on and bears herself regally and stuff like that. Goes up to the wedding thing, and it's like, oh, there's a drink. Reaches over to drink it. He whacks it out of her hand, and there's a filmy substance at the bottom of the cup. You were gonna poison me. So yes, of course I was. You made me marry you. I didn't make you marry me. You married me. You made me marry you. Well, it's like, well, you completed the task. It's like, well, if I hadn't completed the task, she would have gotten murdered too. And now I have to sleep with you. It's like, I don't want you to sleep with you. I have to, because that is your marital rights. It's like, and she, thinking fast again, as Miriam does, she goes, what will you give me for the marital rights? And he offers treasure. And she's like, she wants to say yes immediately, but she goes, wait a minute, no, don't do that. And then she goes, okay, I want the right to ask, is it 5 or 10 questions a night? And he says, 1. And I think they end up at 3. And, they go back and forth. She's like, well, how can I get out of this? And she's like, don't even ask me that. Oh, and you can't ask it. She's not allowed to ask him what his name is, because that is, I think that Fey folk, that's probably that would be power over him. So strangely enough, in some ways she's fucked, but I feel like she's less fucked than Wanda and Irium are. So yeah, some good fairy tale, very kind of fairy tale kind of stuff, but kind of twisted to have kind of a real kind of Brothers Grimm bite to it. Like this, it's like the Tsar thing is almost like Bluebeard, like, another wife to eat or to butcher. And, Wanda is just like kind of a hard scrabble of peasant life, and they're freaking going on the lam now. So yeah, as well as always, still enjoying Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik. It's interesting how the stories are they've got 3 stories, but they are kind of interconnecting in good ways. And I care about all 3 women pretty much. I mean, Miriam and Wanda more than Ariana, who, it's the princess thing. But Miriam and Wanda definitely are really good. And Miriam's not that bad. It's not that bad either. All right, so I will leave it there for tonight. And then we can have a talk. All right, more videos later.